Chocolate Pudding and the Great Race, Part 1. Summer had arrived in Foodland, and the weather was very hot and sunny. School had finished for the holidays. Woohoo! The students of Hot Dog High School were celebrating the end of term by going to the beach. Chocolate and his friends were packed and ready to go. At Jam Junction Station, they waited on the platform for their train to arrive. Meanwhile, at home on his sofa, Pudding the train driver had his eyes closed and was having a nap. But he wasn't napping for long. Pudding was woken up by his alarm clock. He checked the time. Uh-oh! Oh no, thought Pudding, I'm late again. Luckily for Pudding, he lived close to the station and quickly went to find his train. He climbed into the cab and started the engine. After collecting his coaches, Pudding's train finally arrived at platform 1. I'm very sorry, everyone. My alarm clock didn't go off on time. Chocolate was not happy. You and that alarm clock, he scowled. You are always running late. Pudding was feeling rather put down. It would be quicker and take less time if we didn't have to wait and dawdle about on platforms waiting for you, continued Chocolate. Phew, sniffed Pudding. I don't think so. Everyone in Foodland knows that the quickest way to reach Foodland Bay is by rail. The two friends squared up to each other. Trains are slow and out of date, said Chocolate. Pah, replied Pudding. I will prove you wrong. Oh, really? And how exactly are you going to do that? I'll race you, he said, and there was a gasp of excitement on the platform. You're on, smiled Chocolate. First one to reach Foodland Bay Station is the winner. The loser has to buy the ice creams, said Pudding. Agreed, replied Chocolate, and the pair shook hands. The race was on. Bread and Milk were excited. Now this is going to be fun, laughed Milk. Bread wasn't so sure. He could sense trouble brewing, and he wasn't wrong. Trouble was brewing for both Chocolate and Pudding, but first they needed to prepare themselves for the big race. Mr. Mash was going to start the race. Are you ready? He asked. On your marks, get set, go, go, go! And they were off. Chocolate sprinted off out of the station, taking Bread and Milk with him. As for Pudding, he got off to a slow start. He had his two coaches behind him as he pulled out onto the main line. Peep, 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 went the whistle. Clickety-clack, clickety-clack, went the coaches. Come on, you two, called Chocolate impatiently. We've got a race to win. Bread was not built for running, especially with a heavy bag on his back. We aren't going to run the whole way to the beach, are we? He asked, already feeling a little bit out of breath. Of course not, smiled Chocolate. There are other forms of transport we can use. Aha, look, he said, pointing to something across the road. It was Burger's delivery truck. Burger was unloading some boxes of donuts from Mr. Biscuit's bakery. Hello, Chocolate, smiled Burger. Are you in a hurry? Yes, I am, replied Chocolate. I need to borrow your truck. We're in a race, added Milk. Oh, I see, replied Burger. Where are you racing to? Foodland Bay. We've got to beat Pudding in his train, said Bread nervously. Well, I can give you a lift as far as Mr. Beast's farm. That's my next stop. Brilliant. Thank you, Burger, smiled Chocolate. So Bread, Milk and Chocolate all rode in the back of Burger's delivery truck all the way to the farm. But when they reached the farmyard, Burger had an accident. His truck slipped on the mud and slid into the duck pond. Oh no! Splash! Bread, Milk and Chocolate all landed in the water too. Luckily for them, Cheese and Onion were on hand to fish them out of the pond. Mr. Beef rescued Burger and his truck by pulling them out of the water using his tractor. There is a railway line that runs alongside the fields on Mr. Beef's farm. Pudding's train had reached the level crossing by the farm. He had seen everything. Ha-ha, he chuckled to himself and blew the engine's whistle. Peep, peep, peep. But then there was trouble. Pudding's loud whistle startled the sheep in the next field. Some were so frightened they leapt over the hedges and onto the track. Now Pudding's train was stuck at the level crossing. Oh no! He whistled again to try and scare the sheep off the track, but it didn't work. They stayed exactly where they were. Soon the sheep began grazing at the sides of the level crossing. Bother! Pudding had to stop the train and go for help to move the sheep. He scrambled through fields, jumped over walls and hopped over fences. Eventually he reached a farmyard. With Mr. Beef, Cheese and Onion all helping Burger out of the pond, Pudding was left all alone, apart from a few chickens for company. He looked all around the farm for someone to help him. Then he spotted a sack-shaped house sitting at the bottom of a giant vegetable patch. Pudding's face lit up. Of course! It was Spud's house. Pudding quickly knocked on the front door. Spud heard the knocking and popped his head out the window. Hello, Pudding. What are you doing here? He asked. Spud was very surprised to see him. I need your help, Spud, said Pudding. There's sheep on the line. I can't move my train. I'm stuck at the level crossing, and I'm in a hurry. I'm in a race. Oh, I see, replied Spud. In that case, I'd better help you. Come on, he said enthusiastically. Let's go and round up these sheep. Spud worked quickly to safely return all the loose sheep back into their field. Thank you, Spud, smiled Pudding. Don't mention it, replied Spud. Good luck in your race. At last, Pudding could drive his train again. Now he was making up for lost time. Time to pick up some speed, he thought to himself. Clickety-clack, clickety-clack, clickety-clack. As Pudding was thundering down the track, Chocolate, Bread and Milk were still stuck at the farm. What do we do now? Asked Bread. Chocolate had a naughty idea. Follow me, he said. He sneaked behind a barn and found Cheese and Onion scooters. Come on, quick! They won't mind if we borrow these. We have a race to win. Cheese and Onion dashed around the farmyard to see their scooters disappear over the hill. Oi, come back with our scooters, they shouted. But it was no good. Chocolate, Bread and Milk were too far away to catch. Meanwhile, Chocolate thought it was hilarious. Ha ha ha, he chuckled. This is fun, he laughed. Watch this, said Milk, as he performed some tricks on his scooter. Hold on, Bread, he called. Poor Bread held on with all his might, trying not to fall off. They reached the top of Ham Hill, the steepest hill in Foodland. Hold on, called Chocolate. Here we go. Yippee! And they whizzed down the hill. Woohoo! At the bottom of the hill, Mr. Pickle was unloading a delivery of oil for Mr. Fish's restaurant. Chip was helping to carry the oil inside. But then there was trouble. Chip tripped over his shoelaces, spilling the oil all over the road. Oops. Things got worse when Chip saw Chocolate, Bread and Milk racing towards him. Look out, he shouted. But it was too late. Chocolate's scooter spun on the oily surface. Bread and Milk spun in circles too. Mr. Pickle had jumped into the back of his truck just in time. Help, called Chocolate. I need to get off. Poor Chocolate just kept on going. He was heading towards the town centre. He whizzed into Mr. Biscuit's bakery and got covered in flour. He whooshed into Mrs. Scoop's ice cream factory and got covered in hundreds of thousands. Then he crashed through the aisles of the supermarket and was covered head to toe in sticky raspberry jam. Splat! Poor Chocolate. What a mess. As for Bread and Milk, they managed to survive the oil spill and quickly came to Chocolate's rescue. Meanwhile, somewhere further down the line, Pudding was making good time. He was halfway to Foodland Bay Station. Up ahead, Pudding could see Saucepan Castle, sitting on top of the hill. The castle was still a big tourist attraction today. It had lots of visitors, and Mr. Soup was taking a group of his students on a summer mystery tour around the castle. Not only was he the headmaster of Hot Dog High, he was also a history teacher too. Mr. Soup loved teaching his students about history, especially about dark nights, creepy castles, and dingy dungeons. Very creepy. Pudding approached the platform at Saucepan Castle Station. Suddenly, the students came rushing out of the castle. Run, run, there's a ghost after us, they shouted. Bacon, Egg and Beans all ran past Mr. Soup, over the drawbridge. Parsnip jumped into the water, and Pea and Sprout crawled under hedges. Help, help, called Egg. Everyone jump into the train. The students dashed into the coaches, leaving poor Mr. Soup way behind at the castle. Pudding pulled out of the station, leaving Mr. Soup stranded. The train, now with some unexpected passengers on board, was heading for Foodland Bay. Clickety-clack, clickety-clack, clickety-clack went the coaches. And that is the end of part 1. Stay tuned for part 2. We'll see you soon.